There's something I find deeply compelling with these bamboo flutes. I'm an absolute sucker for them, and whenever I see one at a flea market or a secondhand shop or a charity shop, I can't help myself. I just have to get it. Especially, they're usually for a couple of euros or dollars or pounds. And the same thing happens when I bring them home. I quickly realize that they're not really in any specific key. Worse than that, they're not even in tune with whatever key they're in. And playing a few notes for more than a few seconds would require a small compressor. In a few words, it's not a very practical instrument. And I've collected a few more over the years and I just haven't found the right use for them. Until recently, I realized that I could make my own sample library, a virtual instrument, if you will. And that's exactly what I've been doing over the past few months. In fact, I've made a video about the process I was embarking on at the beginning of this year or last year. I can't quite remember. And I was showing these exact flutes and how I was sampling everything. So the idea is to record every single note multiple times, different types of note, different types of sound, even down to the sound your finger makes on the flute itself, to even the breath alone or some lip elements. So I've recorded a couple of hundred samples now at this stage and compiled those into a sample library. And this is the end result. I've announced earlier this year that I was going to make a few sample library. This is the first one, the OddFlutes. So what this is, it covers about an octave, an octave and a half. And this is entirely MIDI controllable. It's a library that I've done through the Contact Player. So you will need a full version of the Contact Player, or the demo version will allow you to play it for a few minutes. And then you have to refresh that. People are used to it. But if you have a full version, it will work. And what we have here is a collection of these flutes. It includes a few round robins. So when you press the same note a few times, a different sample is played. It also will include things like short notes and long notes that are selectable through the keyboard presses as well. So these ones have a bit more lip in it, but if you like the long notes, you can actually include the sound of the lip alone in this. This is if it was overly exaggerated. You can even have the sound of the finger taps. There's also an option to have extra breath. And add some tongue rolls to get that fluttery type of sound. All of these are entirely CC automatable. I've put the exact CC in a text file that's attached to the download, but you can also just right click and see which CC it is assigned to. There's a volume knob, there's an attack knob as well if you would like to have something a bit more pad-like. There's a low pass filter, which works great for the pads. And this is the last one where I think it comes truly alive. I've added a reverb using a convolution reverb effect. And the sample that is used as an impulse response for that convolution reverb is that giant sheet of metal that you probably have seen in some of the videos. And this is what it sounds like. So I find this truly magic, and I think this is where this library comes into its own. So everything, as you can see on the UI, is controllable through the key changes. So if I press here, it'll enable the different options, and these two here select the short or long notes. Now, I think the magic of this is when you start controlling it with an instrument like the UE. Obviously, you can do all of this through a keyboard and some MIDI editing. I've designed this so it would actually respond to those UE type of instrument. The mouthpiece responds to the attack and volume, so you can actually get very, very expressive with this. Now, this is obviously the very straightforward way you can use this instrument, but there's other little interesting options. If you, for example, tone the volume way down and have the finger tap sound and have a low pass filter, no attack, and a good bit of reverb. Now, these finger taps are actually tuned to each note. So whenever you hear one finger, a different note is played. So this is what I've recorded for each note. But that means that you can get very interesting sound really quickly, not just flute sounds, rhythmic patterns and rhythmic elements that can actually be made into a composition. In fact, this little piece here is just the odd flute playing in different settings of rhythmic elements and harmonic elements. Let's have a listen. And obviously, if you just want something like the Suzuki Andes type of sound, well, this is exactly what this will do as standard. It's actually a bit wider and lower than the those type of instruments, so it's a good option if you want to use a lower register, but it can go quite high as well. So there's quite a big range to play with. Anyway, this is my first sample library, the OddFlutes. It's finished, it's done, and it's been released now for a few months. In fact, I've released it to people on Patreon really, really early, a few months ago, as soon as I finished it. And I've made this now available on Piano Book. I wasn't quite sure what to do with these, if I wanted to sell them or if I wanted to offer them to people. And I think this is going to be what I'm going to do, put them on Piano Book for now. This is a website that Christian Hansen, who's the founder of Spitfire Audio. You might have heard of them. They do stuff like the BBC Orchestra plugins, very, very good quality plugins. But he's set up this Piano Book website for people who want to make simple sample libraries like this and make them available to people. There is the option to tip. I would very much appreciate if you like this this sample library and if you decide to use it. But it's free to download and free to test for as long as you want, really. So go to Piano Book. We'll put the link in the description where you can get this. Anyway, folks, this is the OddFlutes, my first sample library. I'm very excited about this new journey I'm embarking on and making instruments out of this huge collection of toys that I have and things that aren't quite usable as is. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you decide to use it, and send me your mixes if you've done any. I will put the link in the description to Piano Book and you can download it from there. Folks, thank you for watching. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.